Hello, everybody who is here on this live or watching it later. Welcome back to Hegemony Revealed. We took a 1-month hiatus for all personal, individual reasons, and we are back with excitement and other ranges of emotions because I don't know about Garry and Shahana, but man, the shit has hit the fan. And talk about hegemony being revealed on a massive, fervent, and enlightening way. So I am here with lovely Garry and Shahana, and I'm so grateful to these two for sharing space, as Shahana said, sharing space on this planet and bringing alignment and making me feel a little less alone in my ideology and hope and mindfulness of the world as it is evolving and revealing itself in the mass falling away. So thank you for being here with us. And, yeah, who'd like to jump in? But we got so much to talk about. But obvious is what's happening in Israel and Palestine.
I'm going to go first, if I may, Trina and Shahana, and I would not normally do that, but there's something there's a nervous energy in my body as I'm about to share, and I'm about to share, but I feel it's important in the spirit of Hegemony Revealed. One of the biggest challenges I've had recently, particularly with everything going on with the Israel-Palestinian issues currently, and of course all the other issues around the world that we don't get to hear about on Western media, has been the LinkedIn as one tool of suction into the binary thinking of it's them or it's them or it's them or it's that, or you got to be here. If you're not over here, you're over there. And that fear-based binary thinking, which is part of the reason why we are where we are, is showing up again in the most extreme ways, understandably, through hurt, through pain, through frustration. But I've wanted to say something, but also known that it's not for me to say something. It's to hold, be present, and be okay with not jumping either side. And I felt a very strong tension the last couple of weeks of, I should say something. I'm a cis white guy with privilege. I'm exactly the sort of person that should be saying something right now. And it's like, no, because that's the old narrative again, telling me I have to take a side. And it's taken a lot of reflection and self-awareness and just, it's okay, Garry, for you not to say something. Because you know inside what you say, Trina. I know inside why I'm not saying something. And it's because I don't want to perpetuate that pattern. So I'm just opening up with that today, if I may. It's been a very potent observation and feeling the last couple of weeks.
Yeah. Just to add to what both of you all said, of course, the first reaction is always fear-based reaction, right? It's not response. It's always reaction, and same it was with me too. And first horror, then more horror, then completely, it's like, how can this be happening? That, that space of where you kind of shut out what is really happening because it's just too horrendous. So went through all of that, and then the whole tropes of what I was saying earlier, the whole binary uh, product, fear based, as well as the old reductionist narrative of separation, right? Us versus them, the good versus evil. Uh, it's either you're with them or you're with us. It's There is no in between. There is
mm,
either this stance or that stance, and
mm,
the whole world seems to be slipping into that. And it was almost like it took me a lot of effort to step back and say, the horror exists for everyone, the pain and grief is engulfing everyone, and it's human beings who have done this to each other on both sides and on all sides, because both is again a misnomer.
mm,
And yet, those very same human beings can also show astonishing compassion as well.
mhm,
So, who are we? Who am I? And who are these people? Are they brutes? Are they are they you know uh, humans? And or do we as well go down the fascist path of dehumanizing just to give ourselves the satisfaction of saying we are the good ones, they are the bad ones?
mm,
And
mm,
for me, the answer was a resounding no. We cannot, must not, and keep perpetuating the old narrative again and again, no matter what country after country, quote unquote, political leaders after leaders might be exhorting us to do.
mm.
It is right now in their fear based interest to be on whichever side, but it is not in it is not on the side of planetary healing. Not on any side. No sides. A
Yeah,
planet doesn't have a side. It's a circle. It's a goddamn. It doesn't have a side.
it's a
It's
connection
a
that keeps going.
completely entangled, enmeshed planet. You do not, none of us get to pick sides. We are entangled. One baby dying in a country anywhere in the world from any kind of inflicted harm is us. No matter which baby, what color, which part of the world. It is, there are no sides. We are an entangled, enmeshed web of life. God damn it.
Yeah,
No one gets to pick a side, no matter what we think.
absolutely.
And
We
these
can.
boundaries and of nation states are so goddamn imaginary. They were not visible from space. Okay, they are not. We humans, with our so-called intelligence, have created lines and barriers that no one in their right minds, that is nature in their right mind, in her beautiful mind and art, doesn't even follow. I mean, breeze and oceans don't know about nations and boundaries. They just flow. They are where they are meant to be. And we are scrambling for one piece of land, someone else's mountains, and so this whole imaginaries of fear and this entire story of separation has brought us here. Not a single one of us can afford to perpetuate it any further, ever, by no thought, word, or deed. How do we get there? We can only get there collectively, together, in dialogue.
And
And
Shahana, I see that. I see, it's been it's been painful to watch, but exciting at the same time because, and Garry had me mention an excitement, having an excitement because so much was being revealed at this moment. And what I see is something that I have never seen before, whether it's on social media, whether it's in private conversations. The narrative it's that hegemony has created has is losing its power. This divisionary type of them against us, mainstream
yeah,
media spinning stories in one direction but not showing the other side. People are asking, but what about the other side? But what about this? You know, this is what I keep seeing happening, and nobody is drinking the bullshit Kool-Aid anymore.
yeah,
Everybody's like, that is BS. We don't believe your narrative anymore because your
Mhm.
narrative is causing massive harm to me, my family, my friends. Um, there was Nas Daily. I don't know if you ever watched that. If you,
Yes. Yeah.
he had his co-founder who is Israeli. He is uh, Arab, and they were on there saying enough, talking together. We can work together in unity, and that other stuff. These wars, our hegemony, making their billions of dollars to keep in
yeah,
power, and the only way that we can stop that is not to take sides, is to look at what is the pattern, asking the whys. Why are they doing this? Let me tell you, I find it comical that one country would have so much technology and such a stranglehold on another one, all of a sudden has a problem with getting floating parachutes from the sky. I don't believe that is possible. I think it's a false flag. I think it's something to allow them to do what they always plan to do. And that's it. That's always the plan. And that's how we have to, as collectively, start asking the why and find a place to, to internalize another person's pain, to understand that empathy that runs so deep, like, well, if that was me, okay, if that was my child, if that was my family, I feel for anybody who loses their life, their autonomy, or anything due to the insanity of a ruling class called the hegemony. And that's what we have to understand. This is not about individuals, um, individuality. It's about collectiveness. We have to collectively change the narrative. We have to. We have to go into ourselves, reconnect with the love and authenticity of ourselves, and then radiate that out and come and have these conversations like we're having without anger, without blame, without, you know, hold each other
yeah.
in our tears. Because no one deserves to go through on a daily life what we as a collective living energy has been going through due to a few psychopaths.
Just to add to that, Trina, it's so powerful what you said. It is, if you follow, if you literally follow where the dollars and power is flowing, if you literally follow the dollars and the power, you know who's orchestrating everything. It is not about people, it's not about a piece of land, it's not about the ordinary people at all, on any side, anywhere in the world. It is a desperate, last ditch attempt to keep the narrative going, which has, which has been the strong, which has been holding up this hegemony for more than 500 years.
Mm.
The narrative started crumbling a long time ago. COVID dealt it a death blow, so that started crumbling even further. Now these are those last ditch attempts to keep on, hang on to it
Mm.
for as long as this old pot-bellied men holding that power live. Because oh my god, I'm in the last decade of my life, and oh my god, what will happen if I lose all my billions? It's just those few pot-bellied, redundant, obsolete men trying to cling on to their patriarchy, and but the masks are off for, and
Yeah.
there are no sides. They are one. If there's any side at all, it's just that one band and the
Mm-hmm.
rest of us. So
That's
that one
right.
band might be, I don't know, a couple of thousands. Take the military industrial complex, and some poor soul are working in that military industrial complex just to feed their families. So I don't even
And,
consider
and,
them.
and many of them, I just listened to a story. A lot of the Israeli soldiers, by the way, if we're just talking about that, are walking away. They said this is madness. Same thing
Yes,
happened in Ukraine, but you don't
yes.
hear about these stories of
No,
humanity,
if
these
these
stories of
stories of
like,
humanity are perpetuated, are spread,
yeah,
then everyone will just put down their whatever arms they have, a knife
yeah.
or a gun or whatever, and they'll just go and hug each other. And that doesn't serve the purpose of hegemony.
These people are being humane strongholds threatened as they have been throughout colonial history
Yes,
to
and
do what these psychopaths want them to do. You know, it is astounding to me that more people, are finally getting this. Okay, we have to learn how not to participate. We
yes,
have to learn how not to participate, and that's really hard to do when, you know, these images that quite frankly, I'm avoiding now. The beginning of it, I was like kind of curious. My heart can't stand
I can't take it.
seeing babies being blown apart. My heart can't stand it seeing anybody but babies. That's that's just too much. So I've literally been crying about this since it started, going, what if this was me? And then coming to the realization that epigenetic, epigenetically, it did happen to me. That's why it's hitting so hard. This is what my ancestors went through. And I don't find it at all a coincidence that the borders with Israel and the US have been taken down and now they can travel freely within the US borders. I don't take it as coincidence that just 8 to 10 months ago they found archaeological findings of a Roman cemetery on the Gaza Strip. I don't find it a coincidence that there's a huge military type police academy training station in Georgia being opened and built. I don't find these things to be coincidence. I find it to be a very orchestrated plan to do what has been done in Palestine all over. And that's not to create fear, that's to create awareness that none of these pieces, this puzzle that is being being finally put together to bring the revealing hegemonic plan, we're not doing that enough. We're not going, like I said, why? So if you want to stay out of that picking sides, all you got to do is ask, why would they do that? What would be their agenda to do that? Because the sad part and the funny part is it's nothing new. We just seem to fall into a sleep, and we forget that to remember. Get to remember.
I'm gonna, if I may, at this juncture, Shahana, Trina, and everyone that's out there, I've made a note of a few beautiful energies that have been shared so far. Care, curiosity, connectedness, collectiveness, remembering. We don't need to buy any of that stuff off a shelf or from anybody else, right? Yet that is a lot of the antidote to hegemony, is so much of what's already sitting within each of us.
Yeah.
Yeah. And using old labels, even labels like, and this was something that I found myself writing, and then I was like, no, even labels like, you know, colonization and decolonization and all of those, I realized are, it's like we are still caught up in the tropes if we keep using the same labels.
Mm.
And what happens is, while the labels apply for us to analyze, like you said, to ask the whys and who gains, who stands to benefit, not the common people of anywhere, not a single common person from any land, okay, but who's actually standing to benefit. You find it is the same mm, capitalistic military industrial complex that sells guns to US citizens who shoot their own kids in school. It is the same people who are selling to another country to shoot citizens of another country, but it is the same people. It is the same complex, and they exist in every country. That's connected. That is the connected thing. And every time we get caught up in fear and reaction and blaming, and either you're on their side, on our side, that kind of that, this extreme fear and extreme revulsion based trope, we are playing into their hands. That's exactly what is needed, but that's what they want.
Oh gosh. Yeah. And they just create more words,
More wars and
more
more
things,
guns to sell, more military complexes to build, more
and more
money to be sucked in, the
and more labels.
billions that could have gone into building infrastructure for the poor, schools and hospitals and childcare, are sucked in under the name of, oh my God, we must keep ourselves safe. Safe from what? Safe from y'all. That's it. But that's
We need to be safe from a very small fraction of
exactly.
people.
Mm.
And
That's that's the thing. If there's going to be him us against them,
it's that
them,
one thing against seven, against the 8 billion. There's no one else.
no one else. And that's the part that the different layers of the hegemony. We need to get the person, the people, two or three removed
Yeah.
from the top. We need to get them to get on board, but they're afraid and they want to get that position
Yeah.
back. When that person falls off, they want to get that position.
And sometimes they're mortally afraid because they know they'll probably be killed, and they will. If you
Yes.
know, it's like if they're at this level and they protest, they'll be wiped out. So it's that's how it functions.
It's like a mafia.
Yeah, it
Yes.
is.
Yes.
It's a mafia system. You know? And people always point to the Italians, but the Romans, but it's old.
For me,
It's older than that.
Godfather was Marlon Brando, so I love him.
Yeah. And Marlon Brando was the first person to call this crap out. That's what I
Yes,
liked about
yes,
Marlon
yes,
Brando. And when he started to do it, his career started going down.
yes.
You notice
So
that?
that's how it's a mafia ring that
Mhm.
works across countries and nations. They again don't have borders, they don't. They work
Mhm.
across borders, but they will instill the fear of borders in the ordinary people to make them live a life.
Mhm.
For them, it doesn't
Imaginary borders.
exist.
Imaginary borders.
Yep, yep,
Yes. I've literally. Oh, that's going to be a beautiful 60-second cut. Instill the fear of imaginary borders to the level of. I made a joke recently when I walked. I've discussed it before, but it's worth discussing again. In London, you go from St Pancras Station. You check through the British passport. It's literally two men standing there in a box. And 10 meters later, you walk through the French customs. It's another two men or women in a box. And I've done no more than 50 meters of walking. And apparently, I've walked from the UK into France. And everybody does it every day without question. Because, Shahana, to not do it risks you not doing your journey, being arrested,
yes,
whatever else, yada, 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 yada.
yeah,
So I love that statement, instilling the fear of imaginary borders. There's so much in that.
yes. And that's
And
how they retain their power across borders. You'll
mhm.
find them everywhere, in every country.
Yeah.
But and with their huge, massive troll armies of
Mhm.
poorly paid people are who are trolls because well that's what feeds their families.
Mhm. Mhm.
I mean we have billions of them in India, thousands of them in India because that's
Oh,
how
they're
they
every.
earn their monthly. I mean they earn their literally their daily food, um, and that's how they are misinformation, disinformation, propaganda, and these the social technology machines are their tools
And don't forget trauma. And don't
and
forget the
trauma.
fact that the reason why we're even in this position right now is because they use the tool of religion
Yes.
to gain access to something that is deeply already inside all of our hearts, which is our in divinity
Yeah.
and our connection to spirit.
Yep.
They gained access to that through religion. And so now people really don't understand that their beliefs are the things that are holding them back, so much
Or,
more.
or
And
rather, their beliefs have become pawns in the hands of the
exactly.
unscrupulous.
It's they're only that's how they accessed it because they knew that people cannot be manipulated unless they have that sense of unity and connectedness, but it's for the wrong cause. You know, they took what was innate in us and they turned it on us and to turn it on other people. Um, I don't know what's his name. His name is Matthias, but I was watching some YouTube. This guy, gosh, mm, he basically his name is Matthias, and he says he basically remembers all of his lives. He remembers uh, he's lies on another planet, blah blah blah. But he also very clearly explaining our existence in this universe in other universes. And so he said something that was really resonated with me about religion, you know, in that the powers know that's the only way to get access to our energy, you know, and they use the energy that we have that to create realities, to manifest what is now for their aims, not for our individual upliftment and enlightenment, our individual joy, our connection to each other. They've basically co-opted our power, our inner power, and imagination. That's the word, imagination. And that we live actually in an imagination of some pretty sick people.
Yeah.
And
Yep.
so collectively, they have used media, and it's no surprise a certain group of people own the media world
Yes. All over the world.
all over the world. So if we can collectively start imagining a world where everyone benefits, that is what will be created. If we collectively imagine our our awakening, our compassion for each other, that's what's that's what will start becoming reality. We have to start taking back our individual power from these hegemonic forces and, like Garry said, the mess, rip the mask off, rip the mask off. And then we don't, this can go away. But you have to see it daily in your life. And I see it. I really do. I do see it. I see it happening so much more than I ever did before. But
Yes.
guess what? It started with me. It started with me. Because if I didn't, I wouldn't have been able to see it.
For me, Trina and Shahana, I think that's why spaces like this are so important. It's our space right now with everybody else that joins now, later, whatever. Because one of my biggest challenges over personally, the last 12 months in particular, has been the deep, that deep desire of knowing. You can see what's happening, you can see hegemony, the harm it's causing, you can see it falling away, you can see what's possible, but trying to avoid the solutioneering, trying not to preach or judge or tell other people this is what it could be like, really holding this space that we delicately have for one another with that curiosity you spoke about earlier, Trina. I think that's for me, that's a huge letting go, right? Letting go of that actually you've got anything to do here apart from be part of the co-creation.
Mm.
And I don't think, and if I look around the chemicals industry that I'm part of, the extractive industries, people are so disembodied, they don't believe they've got this power inside them.
Yeah.
That's right. Well, if you don't believe you have power, how can you change anything?
Yes.
That's the whole point of the hegemony. That was the hegemony's plan,
And
disempower.
that's precisely what organizations, I mean, traditional industrial era kind of organizations, set out to do, right? Control you, command you, tell you what your role is, fit you in a box designated under that role, and you have to follow through on all of those, the checklists of the role. And whatever is your extra bits are chopped off, or you'd better keep them hidden. So gradually, year after year, in those trimmed boxes, what happens is you take on the mantle of a constructed role in exchange for your own inner power, power of imagination, of creativity, of becoming, exchanged for a socially constructed, not even social, industrial constructed role that serves their purpose. And then when you step out of it after years of whatever, you retire, you've actually forgotten who you truly were or are meant to be. So it's an exchange for our own absolute inner power of imagination. We get a job, we get benefits, we get money, and as long as you keep your power out of it. And then
And
you have,
I'll add
yeah,
to that because this is really important part of that is don't you dare imagine anything where they can't profit. Don't you
Mm.
yes,
dare.
Yes,
yes,
yes, yes.
Because that's lunacy. That's a utopia. I mean, how many times have we heard people who have gotten groups together, who have tried to create sustainable communities? How many times are those communities undermined by
yeah,
hegemony? These
yeah,
people are not doing anything to harm anybody. They are just choosing to live outside of the matrix. No, 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 no. You can't collect rainwater. No, 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 no. You can't have that land. You know, Native people being murdered for something that they have owned, not owned, lived on. Because Native people know you can't own land.
yes, they don't
How
own land.
we don't own land. We don't own water. We don't own we don't own this planet. We cohabitate. We live together, but somehow we got wrapped into the imaginings of extremely narcissistic individuals who said, no, we own this. And that goes in, that's when colonialism goes
Hmm.
into, you know, what we're seeing in Palestine and Israel is just a repeat, and essentially of the same people.
It is.
Same
And
people. Because the story of Palestine is European Jews coming over,
yeah,
taking something from people who are already
yeah,
there.
yeah. I mean, in all, if you look at, I'm just going by the facts,
Just the
just to
fact.
assuage their conscience, Europeans, the British, gave a piece of someone else's land to someone else. I mean, it's like I take from X because I can, I'm a colonialist, and give it to Y to assuage my conscience and the conscience of Europe. Then, in
Mhm.
all likelihood, a piece of Europe should have been given to the people
There you
as their land.
go. Yeah, yeah.
Even
Why?
better, half of Germany, give half of Germany to these
Mm.
people. That's their land.
Yeah,
Why do you go across the oceans to grab someone else's land? It's like grabbing one toy from a child and giving it to another toy and keeping my child safe. No, no, my child's toy should not be touched.
yeah. Because
That's
if
exactly
your
what they do.
land was so valuable, why don't you just stay there? It is.
It's,
That's why they don't give it. They don't even see any value in their own land. They just want to go gobble up everybody else's because it's, what what's stopping you from
If you had
taking?
to, good,
Yeah,
assuage your conscience for what happened for the
yeah,
Holocaust. Give a piece of Europe to them because that's where they came from.
yeah,
Even better, give a piece of Germany to them.
yeah.
Why would you go halfway across the world, grab someone else's land because you can, from people who already live there, and then say, here is your land? It's like saying, you know, the Moors lived in Spain 1,000 years ago. Now imagine the Moors marching back and saying, Spain is our homeland. So the people of Spain can go to hell in a handbasket. That's exactly
Uh,
what will happen.
the,
I
the,
mean,
the truth is the
stupid.
Moors. to Spain and improved it vastly, and then said, "Here you go." Like,
So it's again that story of who is allowed to own and who can be disowned.
Mm.
It's just that in different guises, in different forms, whether it is the tribals, whether it is the indigenous, whether it is the First Nations people, and look at what Australia did to the last.
This.
It's beyond my
Um, um,
imagination. I'm like,
I,
what an
it's just,
opportunity! What an opportunity!
it's
Yes.
wrong. I mean, it's almost like every step we come closer to, not closer, every step that hegemony feels that it has been completely overthrown, they make that last ditch attempt to save their dinosaurian selves.
oh God,
What
that
did Australia
first of
do?
all, what
Hallucinating.
in Australia?
And it might seem like disconnected, but the same narrative is playing out here as well. It's the same narrative of who can own, who can be disowned, who can be taken from, who needs to be given to.
Mm-hmm.
And normal people are people with babies, with wives, with sweethearts. They fall into the trap of fear.
Well, in American schools, they've got our kids doing shooter drills.
I know. I mean, 5 year olds, imagine the trauma they'll grow up with.
Oh, the hypervigilance, the
Exactly.
total,
Everyone is a criminal. And I've
yeah.
experienced this in America. So in India, typically, so it's not a it's see it's a more of a collective society, so
Hmm.
people's spaces are respected, but sometimes the boundaries are crossed. I'm not talking about deliberate eve teasing and molesting and all of that. That's patriarchy, that's ugly. But
Mm.
for example, if I've gone to a shopping mall and I'm having coffee at Starbucks, and next to me a family, say a young family sitting with a kid, uh, who is kind of who hops over to my table, uh, I will not push the kid away in India. I will let the kid sit next to me while his or her parents have a peaceful cup of coffee. But in America, that is unthought of. You can't touch someone else's kid.
Yeah.
You can't. It's almost like it's there is so much of fear syndrome in
Hmm.
people that just that will feel like a huge invasion of some kind of uh,
Space,
space.
privacy,
Yeah,
whatever.
or
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
you'll need 10 different permissions. Here in Asia, it's because it's more collective. Yeah, sometimes it can be annoying, but you can navigate that. But it's not so uh, frighteningly individualistic that people feel siloed in their own fears.
I will go to epigenetics for that too, because what's happened is that there has been so much molestation, so much rape, so much traumatic things around quote unquote family, uh, harming their own children, okay, both emotionally and
Yes,
physically, due to trauma, um, that people, and I will talk from my own experience as a Black woman, Black women do not trust other people with their children. And that's because of the history of us giving that trust and our children being deeply harmed.
yeah,
And it's a sad thing, but that's the reason. That's the reason. And um I was one of those parents that because I had been molested, because I had been raped, and it was with someone I was supposed to trust. I am very hyper vigilant about who spends time with my child. You know, it's just the effect. Now, some people would even say by just simply knowing, the parents. I have a rule. If I don't know the parents, you don't go over there. But the problem is that the parents don't want to know other parents. That's what I got. People are so afraid to know each other. And that is because we have a public person, a private person, and a secret person. And those three people don't usually align anymore. Okay. So if they're portraying this public person of trust, but they don't believe it about themselves,
They can't trust
okay,
others.
exactly. Exactly. You can't trust anybody.
And,
So that's where we have to get to an understanding
and this
collectively.
hyper individualism that has come down from the story of separation has gone across worlds. It has been, it has been carried across worlds, whether through globalization or whatever means. And that is now keeping people locked in fear, because when you're afraid and you're alone, that's traumatic and that's scary. And the more alone you feel, the easier you become to be controlled. So the easier it is to control people who are scared and lonely and hyper individualistic, and who feel anyways kind of lost. So
Hmm.
it's easier to control them, easier to spread disinformation and sort of sway them on this side or that side. See, I'm on your side, so you had better join me, otherwise you'll always be alone.
The only exception to that I would throw in, just from my own experience and experiences of others, is that when people really care and love
Yeah.
themselves and they practice self-care, they don't mind being alone.
That's a
You know,
different. That's
that's
yeah.
a
That's a
different thing.
different thing.
Yeah.
Yes,
And so it's almost
that's
like
different.
that aloneness can be peace.
Yes.
And that's the only difference. And so I always encourage people to
Yeah.
um, cultivate that, but at the same time, be able to connect with other people,
Yeah.
but on healthy terms, not seeking validation. I think
Yes.
that's what the hegemony creates, a system of seeking validation by being part of the herd.
Yes. And what you said really reminds me of this beautiful quote, and I'm just forgetting by whom, but it's by a well-known author, but I'm just forgetting the name. The English language created the word loneliness and solitude. Loneliness is about the pain of being alone, and
Hmm.
solitude is about the joy of being alone. And hegemony tries to disrupt our solitude and keep us lonely.
Mm. Beautiful, Shahana. That sums it up perfectly. Because you do need the solitude to know who
Then
you are.
when you know who you are, you'll imagine, you'll create, you'll
Yes.
stay in uncertainty and still love yourself. But
Yes.
when you're lonely, you'll do just the opposite.
Beautiful.
Let's, yeah. Whew. So we did a waka. Oh, wow. Well, we definitely went over our 30 minutes. We definitely went over our 5 minutes. But this is what happens when you take a month off and you don't get to connect to the beautiful souls that we have connected with. But I've got to jump on with a client. So shall
We've
we?
overshot our time. Yeah.
Yeah, shall we? And my computer just said it's going to die.
Yeah, same here. Same here. I just got the ding saying it's going to die.
So we better wrap it up really quick.
It says
Yeah,
2 more minutes.
yeah, mine says about that too. So
Beautiful. Thank you both. And thank you, anyone out there. I hope you've popped in. Come and join us. We'll be back again in a couple of weeks' time. We'll be back on a 2-weekly cadence as best we can, I think. And yeah, amazing.
Thank you, guys.
Yes.
Appreciate
Thank
you.
you.
Yes.
Thank you for both of you.
Yes. See you in 2 weeks.
See you both in 2 weeks.
Take care. Much love. Take care, everyone.
Love.